Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or the press, or the right of people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Hey y'all, it's Mamaw, and welcome to my daily Conniptions. Thank y'all for my day off yesterday. I really heartfelt want to thank all of you for your concerns and your messages and supporting my need for death by chocolate ice cream last night. But please don't be concerned. I'm old. I've lived rough in this body from falling off horses. Actually, I got thrown repelling, just being in sports, just all of those things. And I ran a risk benefit analysis when a doctor said we need to operate on your neck. And that's just not something I'm going to do. So I get injections, and between times I see an osteopathic medicine to do manual manipulation, acupuncture, those kind of things to stretch it out. I just had my bone density done. I have outstanding bones, especially for someone of my age. So that's all good. Not worrying about osteoporosis. I just needed my neck injected. And then you get the zoomies in the middle of the night with your brain, and that keeps you awake for a while. So I had to wait for that to subside. So all's good, and thank you all very much. Uh, let's see, at 1 p.m., I will be a guest on Kimberly Johnson's Start Me Up podcast. We're going to record it. I don't know when she'll release it, but I'll post it when she does. I want to apologize to my subscribers. I did not do a Substack this week. I'm going to do one later today. It will be posted up, and then we will let my subscribers know. So we're getting things back in gear and all a go. Now, before I get started this morning, there are just things you can't unsee. Years ago, Pop and I were sitting on the beach in Palm Coast, Florida in January. It was chilly. We had on jackets, but still sitting on the beach. And some Canadians, and I love my Canadians, and damn, they can take cold weather. Came down on the beach, and an older gentleman was in a small Speedo. He had plumber's butt, gold chains, and looked like the Yeti. I'll never be able to unsee that. Yesterday, they posted Brainworm Man and Kid Rock doing a workout. I'll never be able to unsee that. And then to add insult to injury, Dr. Oz and PewDiePie decided to show off their whatever they thought was impressive. Nothing was. And they worked out on a palm tree together. People, there's just things you can't unsee, and I don't know why they think this display of caveman manliness would impress the taco. I just want people in charge that are qualified and know what the hell they're doing. Oh, well, I do digress. Anyway, the top news this morning was King Charles announced that they have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor for crimes. He is pledging full cooperation and allowing the law enforcement to do their job. This is all part of the Epstein files because it's international. Germany and France have started investigations. The UK's already fired some people. So Blondie Pam Bondi, girl, wake up. The world's looking at us. They are not impressed. So I want to start with Okay, you white Christian nationalists, just saw a thing on the TV this morning that you're starting the schools because you want real Christian kids out there populating and moving into the area. And that's the movement. And this is a movement from the same school that Petey Pie Hegseth is part of. You know, a man will vote for his household and that kind of thing. So they said, they anointed Taco, okay, because they wanted to save babies. They wanted to protect women. So Democratic and Republican Congress members, for you people who anointed Taco, have stated in the unredacted files they have seen so far, there are 11 credible complaints that were made. Now, these were complaints that the FBI has complaint forms on, and not one was looked at or investigated. The complaints were that Taco raped or threatened children. Your move, white Christian national community. This was per Congressman Ted Lieu, who stepped outside and made this statement. So he saw it. Mammal's not making this up. And 0 were investigated. So, by the way, Mikey Johnson, why did you tell Republicans not to show up at Wexner's today? Yesterday? What were you afraid to hear? Because James Comer is the chair of that committee. So Republicans had to set this whole thing up. And keep in mind, the Epstein class, we paid as taxpayers for Congress and their staff to go to him at his mansion to do the deposition. Because, he's special and a billionaire. So that's what's going on. So, the other thing we found out is from the congressman getting into the records unredacted. Les Wexner said he broke all ties with Epstein in 2007, except Wexner emailed Epstein just days before he was to commence his 2008 sentence. And keep in mind, he was convicted of solicitation of prostitution of a 14-year-old. And his punishment from Mr. Acosta, who then became our Secretary of Labor under Taco, was he had to stay in jail overnight. He got an ankle bracelet, and then he got to go home during the day to work. That was his punishment. And of course, at his home is where all the other girls were that he proceeded to continue with his abuse with Ghislaine. So, yeah. Anyway, Wexner sent him that 2008 email saying, "I'm sorry, but you violated your number one rule." Now, I tell you that to put it in context. Wexner admitted that he had given over $1 billion to Epstein. Now, this is a man who had limited brands, which is Bath and Body Works, Victoria's Secrets, Old Navy. All of those brands were under his big umbrella. And he decided that he didn't know how to manage his money. So he hired a man that had no other clients, that did not know how to handle money, who was a trained math teacher. And in fact, they have found out that those credentials were bogus. And he wants everyone to believe that this billionaire finds this unknown man and just hands him the keys to the kingdom. He gave him a power of attorney over all of his finances, all of his real estate, all of his business, and then whines 20 years later when he took advantage of me. Now, I'm an old mammal, but here's the deal. Les Wexner financed a proposition that he got from Jeffrey Epstein on putting together this international child cabal and enabled that man with money to traffic children for what I believe became quite a lucrative blackmail scheme in which they managed international finance, they manipulated stock markets around the world, and they got access to banks when banks should have been reporting. Remember, there was a big thing in Taco's first term. Why didn't these banks report these illegal transactions? Well, I think it's all tied up with that. That's common sense. Now, only Democrats showed up for this. They said that while Wexner is 88 years old, he was lucid. He could remember things like that perfectly. And then the minute Epstein and Taco's names come up, he wasn't sure. He didn't remember. Well, maybe there were girls in the other room. And he did see them come to Victoria's Secret's fashion shows with underage girls trying to give them modeling careers. And yeah, he saw them together a lot and he did hang out with them, but he couldn't remember much about that. But he had perfect memory on dates and everything else, except his 2008 letter to Jeffrey. So the bottom line is Epstein could not have done anything without Les Wexner's financial support. Now, the people at Ohio State University are pretty daggum upset, and I don't blame them. A bunch of nurses have filed to have his name removed from the medical center. The board of control over Ohio State says they're not returning the money. They're not removing the name because that would also be sports complexes. Well, if you'll remember, male athletes were sexually abused at Ohio State University, and the universities paid out a shit ton of money to them over this because they didn't take to action with that doctor, and they knew, and Jim Jordan knew. And by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was a pen pal correspondent with Larry Nassar. Yeah, they're all connected. So Wexner admitted that he was at the island. He admitted that he had been on Jeffrey's plane, but that he had loaned Jeffrey his plane and yachts and any of his properties, as well as Epstein's properties. He may have been with Trump and Epstein on several occasions, but here's the problem. Do y'all remember when Todd Blanche said that there's no crime to party with Epstein? Well, you know what? That is a crime. When you hang out with criminals while there is a crime being committed, you are also guilty. Gets back to, I wasn't in the grocery store when the guys robbed the cash register, but they got in the car and I also got arrested. Yeah, it's along those lines. So, Todd Blanche, you need to read the human trafficking law because you're damn right. Anyone who was there claimed they didn't see anything, but crimes were being committed at that time or underage girls were in the other room. These should all been investigated. All of this, and any law enforcement officer knows where there is that much smoke, there is fire, and not one. When you got 11 complaints, for God's sakes, about one man, and you already knew that full-grown women had complained about him, he bragged on TV about grabbing women by the privates. You know for a fact that SOB has been civilly convicted of rape, and you didn't check out one of them because they were poor girls? Really? I'm telling you, this rot goes to the core. And the first thing we need to do is make sure that Attorney General Blondie Pambondi, protector of pedophiles, understands she is not exempt from incarceration, even if we have to turn it over to state officials so Taco cannot let her go with a pardon. Yeah, that's Mammal's think. So I call bullshit. Moving on. DHS and ICE are still shut down. Do not relent, Democrats. So make sure you all use your 5 Calls app because it is working. We need to stand tough. I don't care if they don't have money. I don't care if they're not getting paid. Government's still running. To heck with you, Christy Dome, you cosplay Barbie twerp. I wanted to say something else, but that wouldn't have been nice, and this is a conniption. Taco wants federal control of 15 states voting. And gee, don't you know that happens to be 15 states he lost? Don't cower. Don't be afraid. He's still threatening to put ICE out there to watch our voting. Show up early. Vote early. Do your job. They can't do anything. Do simple things like make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure your ID matches your voter information. And go vote. Go vote. Go vote early. Be heard. If you're going to vote by mail, then get your ballots in now or as soon as it's time. Yes, Sheila, twatsy. Thank you. That's a good term. They're all twatsies. I'm going to remember that. See, you're a Parker. That's why. Let me, and I'll go through some of our questions here in a minute, which I normally don't do, but I feel bad because I missed yesterday. I have more. So I think that was it. And now we'll go through. And here we go. Let me get up here a little bit. Thank y'all for hopping on. I know there wasn't a lot of notice, but you know, there are things we got to get done. Good morning, Carolyn. I am well today. Thank you, Luann. I am saltier than ever. Good morning, Sandy. Karen, you get your cortisones every 3 months in your hips, so you understand. And that first day after that, you're a little messed up. I get mine in my neck, and I'm actually getting now about 8 months by using the osteopathic doctor, but it's not my hips, it's my neck. What happens is my jaw starts locking up, and it does all kinds of funky stuff. Good morning, Leslie from Michigan. Former Ohioan Susan living in Maine. Get Susan Collins out of there. She lies. She lies. She acts like a sweet old mammal. She lies. Oh, my shirt this morning. Never underestimate the power of a grandma to vote on protecting her granddaughter's rights. That's my shirt of the day. Ernestine, good morning from Texas. Julia, good morning. Paula, good morning. Hey, Mamaw, she says, Stephanie from Rhode Island. And no, you cannot make this shit up. Carol from Walla Walla, Washington. Donna wants to know, do these people ever go to meeting into the office? They give a new meeting to pay to play. Boy, you're not kidding. You cannot get in there and see them. And the Republicans, those congressmen, they don't even come out in our area anyway. They don't even have to come out and campaign. They think they're safely gerrymandered. We need to shock them. And I don't understand why it doesn't bother their constituents that they won't have town halls, they won't have office meetings, and they won't come out to their constituents. And then they keep getting voted back in. Right now in the state of Ohio, and I know it's happening in all your states with this flipping a voucher system. Now the schools are whining. They need more money. Here in my county, they want to issue a property tax, or excuse me, a sales tax on proper top of property taxes, because now they're not sufficient by the way the states want to fund schools. Well, when you live in a rural area, you do not have the tax base that they have in the metro areas. For example, I live on 3 acres. There would easily be 20 houses on this. If you have 100 acres, there's going to be 300 houses on it. Well, that's a hell of a tax base per house. So there's just no way when you live in a rural community, you have that tax base. Then they decided to go with this voucher system, take money away to build the Browns a new stadium, and now they want to add a sales tax. And I'd consider it even, except we have a group of people that work for the school systems in our county, all three of them, that will still vote Republican. So by God, I'm not going to do it. You're out there whining. This is what's happening to schools, but you will still vote for the exact same SOBs that got us in this shape anyway. So that's just mammal. And I know that's not what anybody wants to hear, but until people feel it, they're not going to change it. Mm-mm-mm. Well, thank you, Stephanie, for subscribing, and I will get back on what I do for now. This kind of gets back to, for those of you that weren't on Taco Tuesday, yes, I posted and showed you where social media is now falling in line, just like the networks and stuff are, with suppressing left-leaning voices. So the algorithm is not pushing my content out like it was. It is legitimate. You're having trouble finding me. Where I had a separate chat for subscribers, I can't get on and leave anything. I've got people saying that they're leaving messages. I'm not reading it because old Zuck's sucking up to them. Over on TikTok, keep in mind, any of you that TikTok and view it, the Ellisons now own TikTok. Taco blessed that. The Ellisons own CBS. We know what they did to Stephen Colbert. The Ellisons own Paramount. And the Ellisons want to take over Warner Brothers. And then that would be all these other Discovery channels. We instituted, under Roosevelt, antitrust laws to break up these robber barons. Remember when the Big Bell system was broken up, those of us of a certain age? And now we're allowing it again. And what the Ellisons are doing is being very compliant and putting Barry Weiss in over the news system so that Taco will give his blessing and they can circumvent the law so that they can own all of this media. Sinclair Broadcasting is a family-owned business that owns a lot of the ABC, and you remember what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. So Zuckerberg is, playing it cool, deciding, you know what, I want to make sure he doesn't come back at me. So you all are not imagining anything. It is happening, but we're still going to do it. We're still going to do it. We're still going to plug on. And if you'll have to push my content because the algorithm won't. I hope to meet my 100,000 goal by my birthday. I'm here to tell you we're at 98,600 as of this morning. So that's quite doable. So, that was my long answer, Donna, to do they ever go to the office? And to Stephanie, thank you for subscribing. Good morning from Colorado. If they arrest a prince, can we arrest a president? Okay, y'all want to know what Mamaw would do? This is going to turn out to be longer than a 15-minute conniption, folks. Mamaw would get it together, have a little private meeting with J.D. Vance, say, okay, Jimmy, here's what we're going to do. You get to be president, but you're going to get rid of XYZ. And then to keep from gumming our system up, they need to be turned over. Taco, Miller, Bondi, the whole lot of them. need to be turned over to the Hague and add really good icing to the cake because the Hague wants him. I think we ought to give Jack Smith his old job back at the Hague. I'm just saying, that's how Mamaw would handle it. Okay. So no, Audrey, the UK ain't playing. Good morning from Greenfield. Well, you're not that too far up the road. Keisha, good morning from Arizona. Good morning from Missouri. Okay, what do I think of the SAVE Act is what Karen wants to know. I don't think shit of it. They're insisting there's a problem where there is none. The SAVE Act is nothing but those white Christian nationalists making it hard on women, period. They have found like one person that registered before he was made a naturalized citizen. It's a nothing burger. We all had to get those real ID driver's licenses. If you didn't, you could get a passport. We have valid IDs we can use. This is a nothing burger. This is nothing but to harass women. And you need to tell every every senator, now it's in the Senate, you vote for this, your ass is out of office. And then you work your butts off to do it. This is a nothing burger. Now, I know most of you from all over the country, but if you will go to Mamaw's page, you've got to, click over and go to my actual page, scroll down and look for Allison Russo. I posted, she's running for Secretary of State. I posted her explaining beautifully in simple terms what the SAVE Act is. Please watch that. She does a great job. But no, I think nothing of the SAVE Act. They're trying to protect. It's kind of like kids were using cat litter boxes. Transgender athletes were totally taking over and ruining. Democrats have got to stop this squirrel, squirrel, squirrel game. That's what we call it here in Appalachia. They see something and they go off, or y'all might call it chasing butterflies. For God's sake, stay focused. It's the economy. It's the Epstein files and it's equity. What are you going to do to improve those things? Improve voting rights. Do away with the damn Citizens United. Codify bodily autonomy. Tell people what you're going to do for them and quit chasing these squirrels, because that's what this SAVE Act's all about. See, I am just in a mood this morning. So great question, Karen. Hey, Pam in Virginia. Good morning from Chicago. So is JB going to run for president? Things won't change until we change Congress. It's up to voters to get the job done. Yes, we've got to stop being lazy voters. We have got to participate back in our democracy. That's how it was set up. And by golly, I'm proud of all you because we did. Because remember, if it weren't for my two main things, my generations of 55 and over, we would not have had the Voting Rights Act. We would not have civil rights. We would not have Title IX. Women would not have the rights that they've got. Women wouldn't have been able to enter the service academies. Women would not be able to enter into the corporate America that they had. We fought in the Vietnam War, and we are the generation that, by God, stopped the Vietnam War. We need to remember that, dust out the cobwebs, and show up, because I'm telling you, every time I go to these protests and rallies, my heart swells, because I see us gray-haired people out there teaching these wonderful 30 and under activists out there how it's done, just like we did when we were their age. So good morning from Christiansburg, Virginia, Susan. Hopping on late, finally saw you watching from Tennessee, says Pat. Hey, always late. And you can always rewatch this replays, so it'll be posted. You can watch it again if their mouths are open. Thank you, Violet. I feel fine. Like I said, I had the zoomies last night. Only got about 4 hours sleep, but that's calming down, so we'll be okay. When are they going into detail whom exactly is still missing in those photos? Well, hell, they still got to wade through and they still don't have everything released. We need to demand, take it away from the Department of Labor, or excuse me, the Department of Justice, and we need a special master appointed with a full staff. And that means getting the original unredacted records from the FBI, Kash Patel, because apparently a lot of those full page redactions were loaded that way, which means when they were paying FBI agents around the clock, they're the ones who redacted them. Where's the originals, Kash Patel? Can't wait to see you in The Hague. I know I should make fun of people, but damn, they make it so easy. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Emma from Knox County, Kentucky. Do you think that it's real? Maxwell's in Texas. Yes, she's at Club Fed. We should all post if a prince can be arrested, then arrest a president. I can't disagree, but we have a policy of not arresting our presidents unless they're impeached. Okay. Sheila, yes, where are the Epstein tapes? We all know he taped these clients. And it may be that they have to subpoena the estate for those tapes if the FBI won't turn them over. And I think that everybody involved in this obfuscation needs to be arrested as well. Violet, yep, we're old mammal, but we're not stupid. No, we are not. We are sly old foxes. We will show them. And like I said, I'm going to start calling them the Trumpstein files. The Trumplicans thumb their noses at accountability. Can you believe that? The way they carried on. Remember the guy that's going to shoot up the pizza shop because of this sexual cabal? Oh my God, Hillary Clinton's emails. This is the bunch that every little thing. Joe Biden has lost his mind. Okay. Now the script's flipped. I will give lots of credit to Joe Rogan for saying, hey, this is not what you said. And another thing, why haven't they subpoenaed Steve Bannon, whose ass is showing up in these files as much as it is, and Peter Thiel, who helped finance J.D. Vance, who's all over those records as well? Why haven't those guys been subpoenaed? Oh, listen, it's a good thing that Mammal isn't in there. Yes, Sheila, selective memory. Yeah, Emma, you wouldn't buy panties that fit a 14-year-old. Sheila says Jim Jordan's a high estate. You ain't a kidding. All righty, let me go here. Yes, he turned a blind eye. And that's what people don't understand. It's like over at Penn State when the assistant coach walked in on Jerry, whatever the hell his stupid name was raping a young boy in the shower. And his instinct was he turned around and he was going to tell the head coach the next day. His instinct was not to immediately call 911 and go beat the hell out of that son of a bitch. It defies logic. Then about a week later, what got it exposed is a cleaning woman did catch him doing the same thing, and she did start beating him with a mop. But they knew this, and they just hid. Well, you're just as guilty. You're not helping children. You are just as guilty. If you went to a party, even if you didn't participate, if you knew young underage girls were there without their parents, and you knew what those men were doing in another room, you are guilty. See, now I'm getting wound up again. Barb says, I'm the mother of 3 daughters. When someone is start going to question the ethics of parents of these children, they didn't have parents. And I'm sure a lot of them came from bad homes. But then you had a young girl that just said she was beautiful, young girl at the time, was groomed. They were her friends. They gave her opportunities. Oh, we're going to give you a job. We'll help you get into school. She didn't realize that they were grooming her. She was from a good family. And then whammy. Oh, would you go with my friend for a favor? He'll show you a good time. And then it starts. I don't know if they'll depose Nasser or not, because there again, is he going to lie and cover up for another guy who probably shared a lot of photos with him? like, hey, can't you get me some of those Olympic athletes? Think about it. Yes, you're finding out where they are, but if they're not home by Mark. What do you mean he didn't know what was going on in his own home? Remember the artist at Wexner's? Yeah, he knew. He knew. Let's see what else we got. Carolyn says, Barb might have had a bad parents, but that doesn't mean dirty old men have the right to sell and rape them. You're absolutely right. Carol, good morning from Oregon. And Carolyn, good morning from Indiana. I'm glad you like it. Sheila Parker, we have a new name for Blondie Pambondi, the protector of pedophiles. It is Twatsy. I think that's excellent. Alice says, I think it was awful Billy Bush was doing the interview and that he got fired and never been on TV again. Yeah, he's back on TV. They gave him his old job back, but still. Okay. Oh, yes, Lorna, we have a class system. And the Navajo girls go missing all the time. Native American girls nationwide, they do nothing. I feel horrible about Savannah Guthrie's mother, but there are a lot of missing young women. And now I'm beginning to believe that over the course of history, a lot of these young missing women actually ended up somehow in Epstein's pedophile ring, which was an international ring. Just saying. But we also have the Epstein class. Then we have the wealthy. And then there's all the rest of us struggling to survive. And then keep in mind, we have a lot of good, hardworking people that rely on SNAP benefits, on Medicaid. We have people with addiction and mental health services that rely on Medicaid, and that's all gone. We have Taco thinking the Treasury is his own little personal bank account and he's moving money around, and none of it has gone through Congress. None of it can you look up on the congressional budget site. He's just moving it around as he damn well pleases. And then Scott Bessent's trying to convince Congress that $500,000 homes are expensive because of illegal immigrants. Give me a fucking break. A freaking break. I am so sorry. I apologize, but not really. But that's ridiculous. Can a convicted felon vote if they have done their time, paid their fines, and reapplied? Yes, it's a complicated process, but yes, they can. Hi from New Mexico. DHS shut down and now Taco is worried about FEMA. Yeah, worry now. You didn't before. Just throw some paper towels at the problem. Okay. I need to get off of here. I'm taking up too much time. Good morning, Karen. Diane, good morning from Milwaukee. Good morning from snowy Utah. Hey, did they find out any more on the avalanche? I haven't seen another thing on the news. Did they find anybody yet? I know that was up in the Sierra Nevada, but I think it was close to the Utah border. I may be mistaken. Lori Daly from Iowa. Oh, the Board of Peace. Yeah, we had NATO. We need to be back in NATO. We need to somehow go back and apologize and get back into NATO. We need to help Ukraine out. This has gone on far enough. And listen, everybody, our boycotts have been very effective, or our watching TV shows has been extremely effective. Think of the Super Bowl, and I love all my new peeps from Puerto Rico. So let's boycott the State of the Union Tuesday. You can watch the afterplay and the commentary later. I ain't watching the State of the Union. He's going to do nothing but go over the 2020 election again. Everything's Joe Biden's fault. He's the greatest president ever, and everything should be named after him. And wait until he puts gold Trump across the White House as part of his ballroom renovation. I ain't listening to it. Yes, we have terrible senators in Ohio, and that's what you get when the oligarchs are in charge. And if you vote in Vivek Ramaswamy, you're going to have another oligarch in there. Yes, these so-called Christians can put their hand on the Bible, and I can't believe it doesn't burn their palm. Okay. Let's see. Carolyn Asher from Pennsylvania. Glad you're there. Good morning from New Lex. I know where New Lex, Ohio is. Okay. 1.5 earned income tax for, Carmel, I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry. Until they vote differently and get legislators in there that will follow the Ohio Constitution on how schools are supposed to be funded, that was passed 20 years ago, I'm not voting for it. And I know I'm going to upset a lot of people we know, but no, enough's enough. I'm struggling to pay property taxes now after the last reassessment. I'm on a fixed income, not doing it. Hey, Lori, well, thank you. Love you all too. Toby, glad you joined us from Kentucky. I'm blocked on Facebook because I know, and I probably will get about and see, this is what gets me. I get warnings about my language on TikTok and Facebook, and I'll guarantee you they never say a thing to Texas Paul. A little sexism at play there, do you think? They don't like it. And then you got that something Nana, who, I mean, her cups, she really lets the F-bomb fly. Yeah. Oh, well. I saw a message. Evelyn says that Ivanka had searched the home and her passport was taken. I don't know. I don't run all that down. I should be doing this. I apologize. Susan said, same thing, Morgan Griffin. He totally useless. He's never voted for anything that would help people in his district. Oh, we've got him all over. Yes, Irma. CBS is dead to me too. People must vote the money out of politics. Here's what we got to do. And this is going to be a tough one. And next week, I'm going to be on a Zoom call with Ken Martin, who's the head of the Democratic Party. I want every Democrat to pledge that when we put them in office and they have the majority, the first thing they're going to do is repeal and contain Citizens United, because they've got to be willing to give up that money too, because we're never going to have our political system back until we get oligarchs' money out of it. How you do that is you go back to limiting how much you can contribute. And for the PACs and super PACs at the bottom, where they have to say who they are, in the same size font, they have to have the website with the list of their donors. And that will fix the problem. So an individual, corporations are not people. They cannot vote. You just simply narrow it down to, you can donate X up to X amount. A donor is a listed, registered voter of the United States that breathes in air, has 2 lungs and a heart. Well, just say a heart. Some people don't have 2 lungs. I mean, it's that simple. It has to be a living, breathing human being with 1 vote. That will fix the problem. Simple legislation. But the Democrats have to be willing to do it. And then once it is a law and it follows the Constitution, I've shown you the Constitution. One vote, people get to vote. And then the 19th Amendment, women even get to vote. So women were considered peoples. But they've got to be willing to do that. Number 1, that's the most important thing they need to do. All right, so now I'm dragging on a little long. We've been on here 45 minutes, and I got to get ready for some other stuff. Lyndon, Washington. The video just stopped. Well, it's hard to tell. I cannot control. It's probably they're mad at me over my F-bomb. Okay. Let me get on down here. Yes, we need Jack back. Glad West Virginia joined the house. Okay. You're in Palm Harbor. We stayed Palm Coast. Busted the glass ceiling. Yep. We need to do that. Keep telling it like it is. Our Congress doesn't have the backbone to do anything. They will if we force them. Like I said, part of the blame is us. We've been lazy voters. We allowed, how am I going to put this? By being lazy voters, we have a lot of complaints that we have people in their 80s and 90s in office. That's our fault. Why do we keep voting them in just because the party puts them up? Well, you need to show up and vote in primaries. We got out of the habit of voting in primaries, and then everybody bitches about their choices in the fall. Well, you know what? You get those choices in the fall because you voted in the primary. I'm sorry you have to declare a party. Sometimes you have to hold your nose, but you got to pick a side. And this is not the time not to pick a side. Oh, well, thank you, Mary. Yes, I will be at the No Kings March 28th in Chillicothe, Ohio. So any of you in Ohio that want to come down and visit, come on down. Be glad to meet you. And that's another thing. I met a woman at Walmart, and she was kind of looking and shy, and I still had my Mamaw hat on. And she said, "Oh, Mamaw, I followed you since, but I didn't want to come. Come on up. I'm friendlier than a speckled pup. Just come on up. Love to meet people that follow me online. So don't ever be afraid to approach me unless I'm eating, and then I might bite your fingers. Other than that, anything's free game. And I appreciate it. And I really appreciate you guys. I do. I truly do. Sandy, it frustrates me to no end people I don't know who vote because they say the system is rigged. Okay, it's rigged because we aren't taking part in our system. That's what gets it rigged. That's right. That's right, Debbie. And we're not putting up with that. I was in the very first group of basic trainee women at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, who were in the Army, not the Women's Army Corps. Okay. We fought it already. It's like you're right, Mary. It's like stepping back 50 years in time. We're going to show these kids how it's done. And again, we're going to show the Democratic Party you're throwing away the wrong people. Well, I got to get off of here. I got to boot Pop out the door. He's got an appointment to get to. And Brenda, okay. And if y'all get a chance, let me put up my app real quick. Somebody mentioned if you want to get any shirts for the protests, right here. Let's see. Got to point the other way. Right up there in the corners, QR code. Remember, Dylan said how to snap it. Dylan will be on hand to help me out Sunday morning coffee with Mamaw. And if you have any questions about your phone or how to do this stuff, he will be available to answer your questions. Okay, stay salty, y'all. Make sure you use your 5 Calls app. I've been using mine. In fact, yesterday I used it twice while I was waiting. Made 2 rounds of calls. I think they're probably going to block my number. They think I'm a stalker. But stay salty. We have every right to be salty. We have every right to demand that the Epstein class be held to the same justice system that we're being held to. We have the right to know that our tax dollars are being used in the economy for its citizens, not for a slush fund for an insane billionaire who's making a fortune while he's in office. And we have the right to equity. We have the right to health care. We have the right to have our SNAP benefits. We have the right to an equal education. That's what we have rights to. That's our equity. And women should have the full rights that a man does, not going backward with that SAVE Act. So, economy, Epstein, and equity. That's what you need to be salty about. And use your outside voice. I love y'all. Bye-bye.